Gold prices surged Monday morning to hit six-month highs against the dollar as the U.S. currency fell, as did Western stock markets, while Israel signaled it might agree to a longer ceasefire in Gaza if Hamas agrees to release more hostages kidnapped during its 7th of October terrorist attack, says Atsuko Whitehouse at BullionVault. The gold price jumped as high as $2,017 per troy ounce, the highest since the 15th of May peak of the mini-crisis in U.S. regional banks, which also saw former Swiss giant Credit Suisse swallowed by competitor UBS, after holding above the psychological level of $2,000 at the close of last week. In order for spot gold to go above its historical high of $2,080 from this spring's mini-crisis in U.S. banking, it will first have to overcome the selling seen over the past few sessions above the $2,000 level, said Bruce Ikemizu, chief director of the Japan Bullion Market Association, in a weekend note, pointing out how the yellow metal had tried and failed to break that resistance since the end of October. At the very least, says Nikki Shields, head of metal strategy at Swiss Bullion Refining and finance group MKS PAMP, the weekend's developments over possibly extending the Israel-Hamas ceasefire is a test whether the recent rally through $2,000 was mostly hinged on derivatives, betting or chart-based technical trading, rather than geopolitics or central bank buying. The dollar index, a measure of the U.S. currency's value versus its major peers, slipped 0.1% towards the three-month low set last Tuesday, down 3.4% from the peak in early October, when the Federal Reserve's higher-for-longer messaging on short-term interest rates sent bond prices tumbling with gold and silver, pushing longer-term borrowing costs higher. Monday, in contrast, saw the yield offered by 10-year U.S. Treasury bonds, a benchmark rate for government as well as many finance and commercial borrowing costs, only edge higher to 4.47% per annum, sharply below the 17-year high of near 5.00% registered in mid-October. Gold prices have meanwhile risen by 11.4% from the multi-month low reached on the eve of Hamas's attack, with the price of silver, primarily an industrial metal, jumping 2.0% on Monday to hit $24.82 per ounce, the highest since the 30th of August, with 20.2% rise from early October. The strength of silver pushed the gold-silver ratio, which tracks the two formerly monetary metals' relative prices, down further to just above 81, the lowest value for gold in terms of silver in 2 months. Platinum, which finds two-thirds of its demand from industrial uses led by auto catalysts, rose less steeply, up 0.2% to $937 per ounce, and extending platinum's discount to gold prices back towards the record $1,098 per ounce hit at the start of November. Oil prices, meanwhile, fell on Monday, with Brent crude futures slipping toward $80 a barrel after rising last week for the first time in 5. A meeting of the OPEC Plus cartel of oil producer nations later this week is expected to curb supplies into 2024, although the meeting was delayed to iron out differences on production targets for African members. Gold priced in euros, meantime, rose 0.5% to €1,838 per troy ounce on Monday, while the UK gold price in pounds per ounce edged higher 0.4% to around £1,593. European stocks were lower as the region's Stoxx 600 index edged 0.2% down from Friday's near 10-week high. US stock futures were also down after the S&P 500 and tech-heavy Nasdaq 100 indices both made 4 weeks of gains. Despite the ongoing geopolitical upheaval in the Middle East, those gains have seen the VX index of US equity option contracts volatility drop sharply, with the Fear Index giving its lowest reading since January 2020, just before the COVID-19 shock unfolded. Terrorist and political group Hamas said Sunday it's seeking to extend the ongoing truce and hostage agreement with Israel beyond the initial 4-day period agreed. For every day, another 10 hostages need to be released, responded Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after a call with US President Joe Biden on Sunday evening, warning that Israel will then resume its offensive with all of our might. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel.